Hello, this is Reverend Don Lewis coming to you from the beautiful metaverse and more specifically from beautiful Danville, Illinois, homeland of the Corellian tradition. And this is Midday with Reverend Don. Welcome. And as you know, if you follow Midday with Reverend Don, you can type your questions or comments into whatever platform you're watching on, and they should appear here in my chat room. And since I do not have a guest today, I have the chat room on the screen where you can see it. And I hope that everyone is having a lovely day. Today is the 11th day of the 11th month, which is kind of an important day for us. The number 11 is the number of the master psychic. And in the Corellian tradition, the number 11 often occupies an important position. On the 11th day of every month, we do our crystal web ritual to strengthen and cleanse the crystal web. We'll be doing that tonight. I hope you'll join us for that. Reverend Mary Hawk and myself. And today also is the 33rd clerical anniversary of Ed the Pagan as a Corellian priest. And 33 years is a long time, so I want to wish him a happy anniversary. And that makes him the longest serving Corellian priest not literally born into the family. And and longest serving Corellian priest after me, which is quite an accomplishment. So thank you for your many years of service, Ed. And Ed the Pagan will be my guest tomorrow, and we'll be talking about his new book, Witch Wars Defense Manual Volume 2, and what it means to us today. And hello to Nikki in the chat room. It's good to see you, Nikki. And, you know, when I think about where I was 33 years ago, we were just opening Holy City Temple in Chicago. I was just recovering from having a very severe back injury. In fact, I was not able to walk when we opened Holy City Temple, and literally crawled into the building on my hands and knees because there was no other means for me to do that. I could not. My injury was such that I could not actually use a wheelchair. So it was quite an interesting experience, quite an interesting time. And to look at where we've come in the years since, and think about where we may yet be going, is very formidable. This last couple of years has been a major recalibration for me, but then they say that the 60th year is that. It's a new beginning. It's the completion of one cycle and the start of a new one. And for me, that certainly seems to be the case, and we will see where this cycle takes us. Today, I was going to do mini readings, and I don't know if anyone is looking for a mini reading. Usually people are. If you'd like a mini reading, let me know. Otherwise, I'm thinking of doing some general mini readings. Well, maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't say general, more universal. So the first one I want to do is a mini reading for let's say the next year in the United States as a whole, and see what the cards have to say. Now I'm shuffling the cards. You can't see it. My camera angle is too tight to see me shuffling the cards, but perhaps you can hear them. And I'm going to draw, beginning with 3 cards for the next year in the United States. And our first card is the 7 of Lamps. And the 7 of Lamps is all about cleansing. It is about purification. It is about not rejecting, but healing that which is outgrown or outdated. So it's saying that this will be ultimately a time of purification in preparation for healing. It's followed by the Prince of Coins, which is slow but steady progress. And it suggests that things may not happen all that quickly as they go forward, but we are on a communal journey, the 6 of Swords. And hello to Jade in the chat room. It's good to see you. And that says that what's happening for all of us is going to be a movement from one state of being to another. So I would say it's a bit of a recalibration for all of us, and one that is not going to be overwhelmingly fast, but will be rather deep. And given the way that cleansings normally go, we will probably have to look at those things that we wish to heal and move beyond before we're able to do that. And hello to a unique one. I'm going to draw 3 more cards. And I've drawn the universe. And the universe says that we can have from this period everything we want from it. We must remember that. And of course, as magical people, that's theoretically always true. But it's certainly true here. We have the Eight of Lamps, which is personal skill in magical matters. And it's saying that in approaching this time period, we should use our magical abilities and not simply react to things, but form them. And hello to Andrea Rowe in the chat room. It's good to see you, Andrea. And then we have the Prince of Wands, which is dissipation. And that says we must be careful as a community, as a society, not to dissipate our energies. We must stay focused on what we desire. And that's our first mini reading. I'm now going to do a second mini reading for our pagan community in the next year. Once again, I am shuffling, even though I guess you can kind of see I'm doing it. Let us see what the cards have to say for the pagan community in the next year from now, which is to say pretty much throughout 2025. And our first card is the Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is both the best card and the worst card in the deck, and that's very important. Hello to Shadow Maven in the chat room. It's good to see you. That's very important because the wish card, the Nine of Cups, is called the wish card, and it means that what you wish is what you get. But that doesn't mean consciously. It means what you manifest is what you get. That can be your hopes or it can be your fears. And so it's saying not to abide in fear, but to focus instead on what we desire to do. We certainly can have it. The Seven of Coins says that we have many things to consider during this time period, and it is necessary to select carefully what we choose to do. And the third card, the Ace of Coins, which is prosperity. And the 3 of them together say that it could actually be a very positive time for us. The next card is the Six of Wands, which is victory. And hello to Cheryl. Cheryl Scott Ferguson in the chat room. It's good to see you. We have victory, we have the Princess of Coins, and we have the Nine of Wands. So the Six of Wands is about achieving things that you've wanted. And so I would say that as we go forward as the pagan community in this coming year, we will achieve some things we've been trying to do for a while. There will be some success. However, the Princess of Coins says that we also have to be careful that we use the things we have. The Princess of Coins, I sometimes have compared her to someone looking out a window at the beautiful world and wishing they could be in it, but not leaving their house. And so it's saying if we want to take advantage of the good things that are there, we actually have to do it. We have to go out, we have to take action, or it will simply pass us by. And then the Nine of Wands says this next year in many ways is going to be a time of waiting, a time of watching, and not a time for rushing. And I'm going to draw one more card, and then we'll go on to our next mini. I've drawn the Nine of Coins. The Nine of Coins is a card of personal excellence. I've heard it described as the archetypal New Age witch or shaman. And what it basically says is that we have the power we need to do what we wish to do. if we can be clear on what it is and we're willing to take the actions. So that's a very positive reading for this coming year for the pagan community. Since no one yet has asked for a mini reading, I'm going to do one more specifically for the Corellian community in the coming year. And I am shuffling the cards. I guess you can see one hand shuffling. What is the sound of one hand shuffling? Well, it's whatever you're hearing now. And hello to Corey Judy in the chat room. It's good to see you, Corey. And let us look at the next year for the Corellian community. And Corey has asked for a general reading, so after this we will do Corey. You know, I've always liked that Zen Buddhist question, what is the sound of one hand clapping? You know what the sound of one hand clapping is. The answer is easy. You just have to try it and see. But often people think about the answer rather than trying it and think that it's an answerable question when it in fact is not. So for the Corellian community, our first card is the Three of Lamps, which is working with other people to build success. It's followed by the Nine of Cups. Once again, we must be careful what we wish for. We must make sure we're wishing for positivity and the actual things we wish to accomplish and not giving into fears. And then we have the Empress, which is prosperity and good things. I'm going to draw three more cards. We have the Four of Lamps, which is looking for directions, looking for in some cases, looking for meaning, looking for direction, looking for a clear path. The Seven of Pentacles, which is related to this, it's saying there are many options to consider, and we'll be considering them. And the final card, the Seven of Lamps, once again, a purification period, a time of cutting away the things that don't work and focusing on the things that do. So again, a very positive reading. And hello to Renee in the chat room. And Andrea Rose says, I love this. My first time to experience. Thank you, Rev Don. Thank you, Andrea, for joining us. So our first general reading will be for Corey. And for people who watch my program regularly, you know that I don't normally do readings on the program, but every now and then. So if you come back tomorrow, tomorrow we'll be having an interview. And we'll be talking about that new book, Witch Wars Defense Manual Volume 2. But each day we do different things. On Wednesday, we'll be talking with Chris Copeland about what's new at Corellian Publishing. And let us begin by drawing three cards for Corey. And our first card is the Hanged Man. So for Corey, I would say in your situation, you're probably in a place or about to be in a place where you're waiting for something to transpire. But the waiting is actually an important part of the process, because while you're waiting for it to happen, you're gaining a better appreciation of everything that's going on. This is a card of waiting for things to mature, but also of initiation. And you'll be having a greater understanding of what you're doing while you're waiting for it to actually come to pass. With it is the Prince of Swords. The Prince of Swords says that you need a good, healthy dose of selfishness in your situation. When I first started reading tarot cards 40 years ago, I read this the way people normally read it, which is saying, oh, you're being too selfish in this situation. But what I found is, at least when I'm reading, it means exactly the opposite. It means the person is not being selfish enough. They're being so selfless that they hurt themselves. They're giving away the farm. So make sure that your own bases are being covered. Make sure that your needs are being met as you go forward in your situation. And our third card is the Seven of Cups. And the Seven of Cups says, make sure you clearly understand what you're looking at. There'll be many things around you that may seem very tempting, but aren't necessarily what they appear to be. Make sure that what you're looking at is what you really want. And this may require some self-reflection. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a couple more cards. We have the Five of Swords, which says that in that self-reflection, and Corey says, enough is enough. I gave so much of it my time. Yes, absolutely. And hello to Pratik Baba in the chat room. It's good to see you, Pratik. So Corey may be feeling some mixed feelings about how best to proceed. And again, the answer to that is the way that most helps your situation. We have judgment, which is getting what you've worked for. So if you follow this advice, you will come out with what you have worked for, what you have wanted. And the advice, again, is a good, healthy dose of selfishness. And finally, we have the Queen of Wands, which is a positive satisfaction with the outcome. So you'll be pleased with the outcome, provided that you stop giving everything away. And Pratik says, can I ask a question? Yes. We have a reading for Renee, and then we can do Pratik. And what is your question, Pratik? And if you like this kind of mini reading, Reverend Mary Hawk does this every Thursday night on Tarot Thursday on Corellian TV and Divination TV. And that program goes for an entire hour. I believe I will be the guest this week. Other weeks, Brian Ellicott Cook joins Reverend Mary, and sometimes other people as well. Last week, Phoenix Coffin Williams joined her. And he was reading dice, which is a fascinating way of reading. And now we're going to draw 3 cards for Renee. And for Renee, we have drawn the Four of Wands, which is a card of achieving something that you have wanted, a card of, I guess we'd say victory, a card of having achieved what you have been working for. And Andrea asked, does that broadcast on this channel as well? It does, yes. Next, we have the Two of Swords, which is working with another person. So in achieving that positive outcome, there will be another person whose work is also involved. And then we have the Princess of Swords. And the Princess of Swords is careful communication. And it means, on one hand, that you want to make sure that you say everything that needs to be said. On the other hand, if there are things that perhaps ought not to be said, make sure you don't say them. Pay attention to what you're saying. And we also have the Hanged Man, which again represents a period of waiting in which there will be greater understanding. The Six of Coins, which is help from another person or from the universe. It was a very energetic card. It went on its own way. And finally, we have the Two of Cups, which again is another person heavily involved in the situation. So it looks like a positive step forward and a good period of time. And then Pratik wanted to ask about their reconciliation with Yogyata. And so we shall do that. And we shall draw 3 cards for Pratik. And our first card is the Queen of Lamps. And in terms of this reconciliation, the Queen of Lamps represents magic and magical ability, um, the ability to manifest what you desire. So you want to make sure that you are using your ability to manifest, not just letting things happen, but shaping them. It's followed by the Princess of Wands, which says, it's almost time, not quite. So a little waiting. And then we have the Eight of Cups, which says that during that period of waiting, you may find yourself thinking of everything that can go wrong, thinking of every problem. But you'll notice in the picture that the man is being frightened by phantoms. And what that says about the meaning of this card is that those fears are not necessarily real. They are, they may be frightening, but don't give them a lot of headspace because they're phantoms. It's followed by the Six of Swords, which says that there is a bit of a journey involved in this. That might mean a physical journey. I don't know the details of the situation, or it could be an emotional journey, saying basically that as you move forward toward this reconciliation, you may find a lot of new understandings and new perspective on the situation. Finally, we have Mind. Mind is one of those cards that shows up in the Tarot of Hecate that is not in a normal tarot deck. But what it says is make sure that you're thinking while you do this. It's very good to pay attention to our emotions, but we also want to make sure our mind is involved. And so do not dismiss important details. I'm going to draw one last card. And I've drawn the Ten of Lamps, which is a very positive card. It's a card of personal empowerment. So I would say that the chances of that reconciliation are quite high, but there is some waiting involved along the way. And Renee says, thank you, Reverend Don. My reading was spot on and very helpful. I'm glad to know that. At this moment, I want to take a moment for a message from our sponsors. Why? Because we love our sponsors. And here we go.
Ready to unlock the secrets of the universe? Join me, Reverend Don Lewis, for my metaphysical and magic auctions at Gaia Thrift at whatnot.com. Discover fascinating artifacts, mystical crystals, and rare and unusual books that could change your life. Don't miss this chance to bring a little magic into your world. Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, where the extraordinary can become yours.
And I am back. And we want to thank our sponsors, Equinox Learning Hub and Reverend Don's Metaphysical and Magic Auctions, which of course is me. Or more specifically, the Gaia Thrift Elder Care Ministry. And I hope that you will support our next auction, which is scheduled for this coming Saturday at 4. Our last auction was a great success. It was our first super auction, much longer than our normal auctions, involved a great deal of original artwork on my part, some family jewelry that is still available, and also some very interesting tarot decks. Our next auction will also be in a longer format with some interesting things. I hope you will join us. And I want to thank everyone who bought something Your support of our elder care ministry is very much appreciated. I know we have a couple of other people who are hoping to get readings. I don't really feel that I have time for another reading today, but if you join Tarot Thursday, this coming Thursday at 9 p.m. Central, you can easily get your reading, and they go for a whole hour, so they have time for a lot more readings. And I and Andrea says, I'd love to add to my tarot decks. I'll be looking for the auction. Thank you, Andrea. We've had a number of interesting decks, and Pratik was saying, um, I'm sorry, Corey was saying, I also subscribe to Patreon. Thank you, Corey. And I love my patrons on Patreon. And Corey says, I love having the one-on-one. You're very inspirational. Thank you. Um, it's been an interesting life that I have led. And one of the books that I am working on, although I'm not quite sure when we're going to have that done, we're still in the process of bringing Reverend Don's book of stones, petals, and crystals to fruition, but it should be out any time now. But I am beginning to work on the autobiography. The ancestors have told me it is time. And you can always write more than one if more interesting things happen now in the final quarter of my life. But yes, I'm working on the autobiography. And I started this program by wishing a happy initiatory anniversary to Ed the Pagan, who is celebrating 33 years as a Corellian priest today, and reminiscing about where we were 33 years ago. And I've seen so many adventures. Every now and then I have a momentary thought about, I wish I'd done this or done that, and then I stop and think, wait a minute, look at all the things you did do. When else would you have had time to do anything else? It's been a most interesting life, and I'm glad to have all of you with me on this journey. And as we go forward on Midday with Reverend Don, we'll be talking about all kinds of different things. I've been doing media now I've been doing online media for 19 years this year. Corellian TV began as Magic TV, and next year is its 20th anniversary. Of course, I was doing media before that, and we have in our archives videos from the 1990s, for example, even maybe a few from the 1980s, which predate things like our online broadcasts. And of course, we did radio broadcasts years before we started doing the video broadcasts. And, it's been fascinating to meet so many people, to get to interview so many people, to see so many events. As a journalist, one of the things I'm still very proud of, even all these years later, in 1986, I won the Silver Salamander Award for Excellence in Pagan Journalism. And, that really kind of focused a lot of my career. At that time, I was primarily known in the wider community as an artist and a little bit as a writer. And that was even before the tarot, or even before the Wheel of Hecate, which was the magazine I used to do. And, it's just been a most interesting journey. Many ups and downs, many interesting sideways turns along the way, but I guess that's how life is. And as I look forward to the future, I do in fact look forward to the future. Some days the future looks friendlier than others, but that too is part of life, and it's always been that way. And the one thing I will say, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was from Paul Bayerl, who was a friend and mentor of mine back in the 1980s. And a lot of my friends first felt mortality when they turned 18 or 21. I did not. For me, that moment came when I turned 25. And I happened to remark to that with Paul, that, I had my first real feeling of mortality. And his response was, I wouldn't go back to my 20s for anything. He was then in his mid 40s, and he said to me, it just gets better as you go. When you're older, you can look back at your youth and realize how often you were upset over things that really didn't merit it. Um, and he was right. I find that the older I get, the easier it is to handle most situations because I've already faced similar things. And that would be my advice to young people, to realize that while it might seem very um, difficult now, it's going to get easier as you get older because you'll come to realize how much more easy it is to deal with things, particularly with experience. And to me, that is one of the chief benefits of being an older person, to be able to say that. And hello to Timothy in the chat room. And Timothy says the future tastes good with carrot cake. Well, I suppose it does. With that, I see we've come to the end of our half hour. I want to thank everyone for joining us, and let us close with our prayer, as we always do. Divine Mother Goddess, Divine Father God, beloved ancestors, we thank you for all that you do for us in our lives, and we rejoice in this walk we walk together, and we ask you to help us to always see the messages that we receive regarding the future, and to chart a happy and prosperous road through life. We know that you are always there to help us, and we ask you to help us to remain mindful of that, so that we do not forget that there is always help available. Beloved Mother Goddess, beloved Father God, beloved ancestors, rejoicing in this world, we thank you for all that you do for us, and knowing you are always with us, we thank you for your presence, and may you be blessed now and always. And I thank you for your presence. May you be blessed now and always.